Welcome back to another episode with Ask the Expert. Today, we're here with Courtney from Summit Title. Welcome, Courtney.
Thank you so much for having me, Rana.
I'm so glad you're able to make some time to see us today.
Mm-hmm.
So today we're going to be discussing closings and why it's important to have a good title company helping you with this transaction. It's one of the most important parts to finish off your closings. So Courtney, can you tell us a little bit about Summit Title?
Yeah, so Summit has been around for over 13 years. We're a title company servicing all of New Hampshire, as well as northern Massachusetts and southern Maine. We have office locations all around the state of New Hampshire, so we go as far up as Littleton, New Hampshire, up in the North Country there. We have an office location in Portsmouth, one in Guilford. We're sitting in our Bedford office now, and then we have Nashua and Wyndham locations as well. So we're a fully serviced title company. We have abstractors that are in-house, and then we also have on-staff attorneys that we can utilize too. So we have a little bit of everything here.
That's cool. And do you feel, what makes you different than other title companies around this area?
What I usually say sets us apart from others is the experience and the knowledge that we have, and also our willingness to help sellers resolve title issues. If there's a title issue that's holding up your closing, for the most part, title companies will let you know what the issue is and then let the seller go on their own and figure it out. Whereas we will give the seller guidance. We have different underwriters to shop around for to deem the issue a non-issue and move forward. And we have a couple other systems too that we can utilize for, say, an undischarged mortgage to get that rectified. So really whatever we can do to push forward and get to closing on time.
That's cool. Well, that's a really good important point, which is having issues with your title, and that's why it's important to have something called title insurance. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, definitely key to purchase an owner's title insurance policy when you're buying a house. Because we've run into many scenarios where someone did not purchase owner's insurance. And then, so owner's insurance, your background is what you purchase, and it provides legal protection if there are title issues that arise from a prior owner. So if you buy this property, and you get a letter in the mail like a few months later and say there's a mechanic's lien being placed on your property and it was from a prior owner, then you would file a claim under your owner's insurance policy. And that will provide you that legal protection for getting that rectified. Otherwise, you have to basically take this person to court and shell out a bunch of money to a lawyer to get that rectified instead. So it's always better to purchase owner's title insurance. It's a one-time fee that you pay at the closing. It's not like a reoccurring monthly fee. You pay it once at the closing, and it's effective for the entire time that you own the property. So it's really a no-brainer to get because there are things that can come up that just truly are out of our control. We do the title search, but we can only see what's on public record. So if it's not on public record at the time of the search or the closing process, then you don't know.
And those kind of things are like what you said, which is mechanical liens or disputes between family members, like that it was sold or the ownership of the title, correct?
Yep, exactly.
Okay. Because normally a closing, if you guys know, is usually 30 to 45 days. So there's only so much time for the title company to do their research to make sure that they have a clean title. So another big part of buying a home is having closing costs and preparing yourself with the right budget for that. A lot of people think, oh, I just need to have a down payment, and they don't think about closing costs to budget into their total. So can you tell us a little bit about what types of fees are included in closing costs?
Yep. So we were talking about this earlier. Your total closing costs are between about 2 and 5% of the sale price of the property. There's a lot of variables that can go into that. From our angle, your closing costs on title are going to encompass a settlement fee. As the buyer, you'll pay half the portion of the transfer taxes in the state of New Hampshire. Then you have your recording fees for the deed and the mortgage. And then other than that, you'll also have fees from your lender. So whoever you're working with for lending is going to charge you a fee for the loan origination, processing fees, a small fee for pulling your credit report, flood certification. So it's definitely important as a buyer because, like I mentioned, it's variable depending on the sale price, the loan amount, what you're doing for financing, who you're working with. So whatever property you're looking at, it's always a good idea to reach out to your loan officer or your trusted real estate professional to kind of get an idea of what your closing costs are going to look like for your situation.
And also taxes too, correct?
Taxes,
You pay.
so we'll prorate for the property tax bill depending on the time of year. At this time of year, the next bill is going to be in July. So right now, buyers are paying the full 6 months for the taxes because it's twice a year, biannual. So they're paying the July tax bill in full at the closing, and then the seller is reimbursing them for that small portion of the tax bill that they have to pay.
And that's really important. I mean, that could be a big part of your budget right there is paying the taxes. Either you have to prorate the future ones or the ones that the seller has already paid for, you have to reimburse them. So that's also, you have to take account into that.
Mm-hmm.
So another big part is once you set aside all that money to pay for the closing, you are starting to develop your escrow account, which will have a little bit of that insurance and also your taxes. So that's something to calculate in there as well, right?
Yeah, that's actually a good point because that will trip people up at the closing because so if you're escrowing for your homeowner's insurance and property taxes, which grand majority of people do, it just makes everything a lot easier if that's the case. But you'll pay your homeowner's insurance premium for the year as a buyer up front. So they're collecting that premium from you, and then on top of the premium, the lender's also going to collect a few months out for the insurance and property taxes, which will go into your escrow account basically as like a cushion. So they'll pull from that account to pay the insurance and property taxes moving forward. But people do tend to get a little bit confused on that because they think it's only that one premium that they're paying. But the escrows, there has to be something in the escrow account for the lender to make those payments for you. So you have to add in that little cushion up front as well.
So you must be thinking, oh my God, can I even afford this? All these fees they're throwing at me. Am I able to come up with this? And you don't have to worry. What we'll do is when we're coming up with the offer price on your home, we can look at all these fees. And also it's really good to educate yourself. Like, hey, how much does this home have for taxes on a yearly basis? So you can budget and see if that's something you can even afford with the offer of the mortgage. So it's really important to calculate all these figures together before we place the offer on your home. Mm-hmm. So another thing is, what does the seller do with the title company? Do you have a lot of responsibilities, even though that the buyer is hiring you? Do you have responsibilities to the seller?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So that's definitely one of the things, like I mentioned earlier, I think is what sets Summit apart is we do most definitely help the seller rectify any issues or kind of just in general guide them through the process. So there are some bumps along the road that can happen, like with ordering payoffs. Sometimes, depending on who the seller's lender is, getting that payoff from them can be tricky, especially if it's a USDA loan. You need, you need a signed authorization from the seller. You need the seller's social security number. We need to draft a settlement statement, all to submit just to get the payoff for that mortgage. So we work with the seller to ensure that we're getting everything, all the information from them timely. One thing as a seller to keep in mind too is the earlier that we have a seller information form that's filled out at the very beginning of the process that's emailed. The sooner that we get that form back, the better we can help kind of rectify any potential problems right up front. But we're known for being super responsive. The processors are amazing. So if there's ever any questions or, like I said, stuff that needs to be rectified, we're always there to help and assist with that.
And on average, what do you think a closing time frame would be? I mean, I know we like to do a 30 or 45 day closing. For sure. What is the least amount? Like right now in the competitive market we like to try to be like, hey, can you close in 20 days?
Yeah.
So what do you think your Summit title, what do you say your average?
Lately, it really does depend on the lender that you're working with and how fast they can get it clear to close, because our stuff is done pretty quickly. I just closed a finance transaction in 21 days. We got the clear to close in like 11 days.
Is that Brian's by any chance?
It was not, but he's also very fast.
As you guys know, I do work a lot with Brian, and he does a lot of clear to close pretty quick.
Absolutely. So it's important too because if your lender is super fast at getting the clear to close, but your title company is behind, then that's going to ruin everything. So we make sure that we do our title search within 2 to 3 days of opening up that order, so we know what we're dealing with up front. We order payoffs as soon as we need to, get everything that we need for ordering final water, sewer, tax preparations, all of that. So it's definitely possible to do a super quick close financed. but it's usually closer to like between 20 and 30 days. That does typically happen. Cash deals, very different story. I closed a cash deal in literally 3 days recently because they needed that quick of a turnaround. But we usually offer a 2 week close for cash deals. But again, it's all depending on the situation, how responsive people are, and how cooperative everyone is.
And you guys feel comfortable doing this 3-day close for cash just because you have the title insurance, or is it just that easy to make sure there's no liens?
Well, there's a lot. No, it's the same process for the title search and making sure if there's a title issue, then yeah, we wouldn't be able to close in 3 days because that needs to be rectified. But there are no title issues. It's just different because the lender has a lot of requirements in terms of verifying employment and income and questioning about credit card inquiries. And there's a lot more that goes into a finance transaction as opposed to cash. Because cash, it's just we do the title search, we collect whatever information is needed for prorations, and that's really it.
Oh, wow. Well, that's pretty quick.
Yep.
I mean, usually I always hear about like 14 days, so that's really nice that you're even
We usually
quicker.
we do say 2 weeks for cash, but there are situations where people want to close sooner.
Yeah.
So the quickest one that I've ever seen us do is 3 days.
So, what other services, Courtney, do you have at Summit Title for, people that need your services?
Yeah, so for you guys, for realtors, we offer complimentary deed service. So if you need a copy of a deed for a listing appointment or something, you can just reach out to your relationship manager at Summit with the current owner name and the property address that you're looking for. And we have a lady here who's super quick. She pulls those deeds and gets them back to you within 30 minutes, totally free of charge. And then the other thing that we can do is generate a closing cost estimate. So for that, we have an online fee quote generator. All we need for that is the property address, sale price, loan amount if there is one, and we can generate a whole PDF statement with buyer and seller closing costs, so you know what you're looking at on our end. And then another thing that we can do too for just anyone in the general public is quitclaim deeds. If you want to put a property into an LLC, or maybe you're a parent that for estate planning purposes wants to add your child onto the deed, or really just, yeah, any transfer of title in terms of that stuff, we can do a quitclaim deed. We just do a regular deed preparation fee charge and for the recording fees. And that's usually done within a couple of days. That's super easy, very quick. So those are a few other services that we like to offer.
That's great. Well, we've had a great conversation today, and thank you so much for taking time to do this.
Thank you for having me.
And I hope you guys learned something new. And if you need any services from Courtney at Summit, I'll have her contact below, her information. And if you need a realtor, make sure you give me a call. See you next time.